Hey folks, you are most welcome to the show. And again, we have an amazing guest who is going to share with us that how to start your podcast. What are the steps that you need to follow in order to start a podcast? And also, what are the ways that you can monetize your podcast? So, dear guest, you're most welcome on the show.
Thank you so much for having me. This is really exciting. I appreciate
Awesome.
the invite to have me.
Awesome. So the audience is really super excited to know a little intro of yours.
Little intro of mine. So, fun fact about me is that I have been a digital marketer. LinkedIn tells me I've been doing this for about 20 years now, which makes me positively ancient at this point. And basically, what I've been doing is, through that time, I've touched just about every aspect of digital marketing from website design, social media engagement, paid ads, search engine optimization, as well as different kinds of content marketing.
Mhm.
So been there, done that throughout the years, and most recently, I started a podcast called The One Big Tip, where I also
Mhm.
interview entrepreneurs, get them to talk about their one thing that that they use in their business to accelerate.
Awesome. So that's interesting. I've been through your podcast and I really felt inspiring. And that was a moment I decided I need this gentleman, this crazy man on my show, right? So let me just share it with my audience that people have already shared that the topic that we are covering is how to start your podcast. What are the steps that you need to follow without committing any mistake, learning from directly an expert, right? So, dear guest, here comes the first question. What is the
Sure.
exact thing one has to do in order to start their podcast?
So, a couple of things, and this is going to be a rather long-winded answer, so definitely take notes. But I'll give it to you in a few bite-sized pieces. First of all, really all you need is a Zoom account and the ability to network. To reach out to people on LinkedIn, reach out to other people within your sphere, and invite them and just say, "Hey, I want to have a conversation with you, and I want to publish it." Right? That's basically what a podcast is. So the equipment and the software that you need to do it, you pretty much already have. We already all of us pretty much have 4K phones in our hands. We already have decent computers that can talk with people halfway around the world. So like it's all there. The second part is just do it, right?
Oh, awesome. So,
Okay.
mhm.
Yeah, so I was just going to say that, yeah, really the idea about starting a podcast, considering how easy it is to get started, is that it really just takes the effort of standing up, chin up, shoulders back, and just saying, "Yes, I want to talk with interesting people." And the most interesting thing about that is that people will come out of the woodwork. People will help you. People will, say, "Yeah, I'll get on your show. I'll talk about these things." And that's really what transforms podcasting into the ultimate networking tool.
Awesome. So that's the first step, I believe, right? And as you also mentioned that people already have the equipments right there in their hand, right, with them. So, but still, people have that lack of belief that whether people would be coming on my show or not. So, how to tackle this particular objection?
Sure. So, a couple of ways you can do it. First of all, most of us in this day and age have a LinkedIn profile that has more than 500 friends on it and has a pretty wide network. We are all basically just 1 or 2 degrees away from the person that we really want to speak, right? So what happens there is, like you can reach out to them, and that's what these channels are for. So I would say LinkedIn first, Facebook second, but
Mhm.
also there are a lot of podcast directories out there that help match guests to hosts, or the reverse. And what happens is that it just comes down to finding the right guest that fits the type of show that you're trying to run and asking them. just saying, hey, would you like to be on my podcast? You do need to have, some kind of, like, thought out, what the theme of your show is going to be, what the mission is, what you're trying to get out of it. This isn't just about, oh, tell me about your life, or tell me about what it is that you've done. You want to have some kind of focus, whether it's working on sales funnels, whether it's I don't know, chatbots or blockchain, or like whatever it is. Have some kind of theme that you're going to talk about, because that is ultimately what you are going to be known for, right? That you are the one who went out and sourced these experts in blockchain, in sales funnels, in graphic design, things like that. So I think that's really, like, you can get a lot of people that way, right? And just by reaching out and being friendly and just saying, hey, I want to start doing this, that actually works for a lot of people.
Awesome. Awesome. So it's just as simple as that. Like you just need to reach out to people, ask them that I want to have you on my show. This is what I do. This is what my mission is, right? Awesome. Interesting. So when it
What's
comes,
interesting?
Mhm.
No, so I was going to tell you is that one of the interesting things is that as soon as you put this microphone in front of your face, people want to talk to you, right? So it may take a little bit of getting outside your comfort zone, or just putting out there and saying, hey, like, can you help me out, and things like that. But I don't think you need to say, can you help me out, for more than 2 or 3 interviews. Like, the rest of the people would be like, you have a podcast? Okay, fair enough, I'll come on. And you should be trying to lead with value, right? Lead with trying to get the message out there, and not really expecting so much in return, because the person that you're going to interview for your podcast, they may not become your client, they may not become your best friend, but they may, it may lead to a joint venture. It may lead to you helping to sell their products. It may help to you providing services for them, right? There are all different kinds of ways that you can do that, right? And I think the last point to drive home is that, this is something we can do, from wherever, right? I mean, you're in India, I'm in the United States. Like, it's we're literally doing this from the other side of the planet. And how else would we have met otherwise, right? You would have had to come to a conference, or we meet at some, we would have had to have met somewhere, right? And
True,
by doing it this way and just sharing knowledge and getting things together, it really makes it so much easier.
true, true. Got it. Right. So that's the thing. That's the thing. Like as you mentioned, not everybody would become your client, right? So I was coming to this point only, right? Uh, what are the ways that what are the things that we need to do, right? So that people become the client.
So what's most important here is to define your avatar and who you're talking to, right?
Mhm.
Whether you are talking directly to, whether you are fixed on providing value to your listeners, to your audience, or whether you're focused to provide value to your podcast guests, right? So I sort of straddle both sides of that, right? Where I am putting out value, and between the show notes and the awesome tips that people bring, I'm more like a reporter, right? Where people will come and they'll learn something from it. But also, we have a full system where we promote each and every episode on multiple channels, right? So first of all, we're demonstrating by doing, right? By having you on the show and having an opportunity to promote your materials. And at some point, you may decide, like, hey, I want to do this also for myself, right? Because once you create a podcast, you become this content creation monster, right? You can take a 20-minute episode, you can have it transcribed. From there, you can write 1,000-word blog post. From there, you can create all these different social assets. Then you can create audiograms and YouTube shorts and all that neat stuff. So what happens? All of that goes into your content arsenal, right? That you're putting together and you're sharing it on TikTok, on LinkedIn, on YouTube, on Facebook, all the channels where you are the most prevalent, right?
True.
So the ways to make money, I mean, there are lots of, I shouldn't say lots. There are a few ways to make money, right? And each
Mm-hmm.
one of them has their pros and cons. So for
Mm-hmm.
example, like you can self-fund it, right? Which is just, using it as a complement to your existing business. You can solicit sponsorships. You can ask the audience to send you money when you give, and you can provide extra actionable content to them through membership areas or private podcasts, things like that. Um, you can go down all those routes, right? But the one I find the most fruitful is by actually leveraging the conversations to make a warm connection with someone who could be your client. That's where I think that's where I think it makes the most sense, simply because I don't think all of us have the talent to be, like a Howard Stern or a Joe Rogan or one of these huge, podcasters with millions of downloads, right? You don't necessarily need to be successful in order to, successful in terms of millions of viewers or millions of downloads in order to 10x your business using your podcast and your networking abilities through it.
All right, I just got the point, right? And as you mentioned, not everybody would be your client, right? I understand that particular point. A lot of people who try to grab the opportunity to share their, portfolio or something or the other, they try to pitch every client, right? Every guest. That's not sure that not should happen. The only thing is like, so first build that connection, right? So that's what I believe in. Thank you so much for this golden nuggets, sharing for the golden nuggets, right? Awesome. So okay, what is the mindset one should have in order to keep going with the podcast?
That's a really good question. I can tell you from my experience. At first, I just wanted to speak to interesting people, right? That was like my big thing, and I didn't know how I was going to do it, right? And what happened was, when I started inviting people and I started, queuing them up and doing these interviews, at first I was like, I just want to speak to 4 people a month. How the hell am I going to get 4 people a month to talk to me? Well, 4 turned to 10, 10 turned to 20, 20 turned to 60, right? And then all of a sudden it's like, oh my God, I just did 50 interviews. Like, what the hell? Like, how did that happen? Right. When I would say that my first, I really went into this without a really good plan, right? Where I was just like, I just want to interview people and see what happens. Right. And what happens with that is, okay, so you interview people and you see what happens. Right. So, like, my first 30 to 40 interviews, I was doing nothing with. I was just interviewing them and then thank you very much and publishing them. And like, it was all good. And I went into this dark place. I went into this like, why am I giving these people a platform? Right? Why am I spending this time, this money in order to interview them, in order to do it? And really what it came down to was the realization was I just interviewed a bunch of really interesting people that now know me by name that I wouldn't have known otherwise. Right. And I just spent an hour, or close to, with each and every one of them. So yeah, now I do have the right to say, hey, did you know that I also do copywriting? Did you know that I also do, sales funnel management? Did you know that I'm also manage CRMs, things like that? Offer, like what's the worst that can happen? They're going to say no. I think you should do it. I think you should make that offer in a classy way. I don't think that you should make your podcast interview contingent on, you getting an offer, you pitching an offer and them accepting. At the end of the day, think about it this way. The worst case scenario of the content that you and I are creating today, the worst case, okay, is we created great content. You're going to take this content, you're going to put it on your channel, you're going to promote it out, and I'm going to take it, I'm going to promote my experience here too. And that's great, right? And even if we never do business together again, we still made great content for each other. It's a win-win.
True.
Right? Now, by virtue of the fact that we now know each other, that I know what you do, you know what I do, you can refer people to me, you can get a commission from that. Maybe I can learn a little bit more about what it is that you do. There's no shame in putting it out there that I help X do Y. Like, you should be doing that. That should be on your Facebook profile. People should know about that. Your Facebook should not be full of your Sunday night desserts that you ate, right? They should be, testaments and advertisements to the value that you provide, right? So I don't take this view where, you have a guest on the show and you can't pitch them. You can mention what it is that you do if they're interested. You can further the conversation. If they're absolutely against it and they don't want to do it, hey, no problem, back off. It's all good, right? Why?
So
Because I still have all this great content that we created, right? And I can still use that and repurpose it and make it great. And it's gonna promote both of us.
true,
So I feel that by doing things like that, it really is a win-win. It wins on both sides, and it really helps your confidence. It really eliminates your imposter syndrome. Because you start out doing this, like thinking like, why would this person talk to me? Why would I? I interviewed this CEO of a $150 million company. Why is he talking to me? Right? Well, it's because he understands the power of leveraging other people's audiences. Right? It's as simple as that. Right? So if he decides to use some of the other services that my company provides, great. If he doesn't, we still know each other. We send each other happy birthdays and we stay in touch. That's the whole point of networking, is providing value and being there for when other people need it.
true, true. That's what is like one has to do, right? So that really does sounds, awesome. The thing that you have shared, it has cleared super in the super awesome way, right? So you have just shared
Excellent.
your journey, what you have been doing it, right? So that's interesting. That's what exactly I wanted my audience to hear it, right? So that their belief system gets, going in the right direction, right? So,
I want to
mhm,
I want to highlight one other. I
mhm,
was the kid that stuttered in high school, right? I was the one who got out of every presentation that I needed to make in high school and college, right? What business do I have being behind the mic right now? Right? And that's something that still messes with you, 20, 30 years later, you're still like, oh my God, like, am I going to stutter? Am I going to mess up? Am I going to, all of that. So, first of all, it takes practice, right? I've done over 350 interviews so far. Yes, I've gotten a little bit better at this point, right? But I think also, the fact that you can, the whole idea of imposter syndrome is really just working up the nerve to get through it. Because even if you start your podcast, right, and you mess up terribly, right, and I'll be the first one to tell you, please do not go and listen to my first few episodes. Please don't. Okay, because they're bad. They're objectively bad. Okay, but I've gotten a little better over the years, right? Because I've had a lot more, I started reading up on it and what else I can do to be more presentable and how I can articulate better, things like that, right? The other thing I would tell people is that I speak 3.5 languages, okay, and I have an American accent in all of them, right? So like when I speak Spanish, when I speak Portuguese, it's like you can tell that I'm the gringo, right? And even though I speak both of these, semi fluently, people understand and know where I come from, right? They know that I'm not, from Mexico or from Brazil, things like that. Why am I
mhm.
telling you this? People that don't like the sound of their voice, I'll be the first one to tell you, I hate listening to the sound of my voice back through the headphones, right? I hate it. It gets under my skin and I have an allergic reaction to it. But the fact of the matter is, you can just start, like your accent or the language that you speak, or even if you didn't come from this country originally and English is your second or third language, that's fine. People are still going to listen to you because it's your persona, it's your aura, it's your soul that comes out when you do these interviews. So that's why I would push people to just do it, right? Take the
Mhm.
plunge, because and don't overthink this whole project because it really doesn't need to be overthought. At the end of the day, when you walk into an elevator or you're in a coffee shop and someone asks you, "Hey, what do you do?" Like, what do you do? Do you like go like this and walk away? No, you tell them, right? All of us have the capacity to tell our story, to tell everything that that it's about us. Yes, I help people do this. I serve communities that do that. That's great. So the fact that you're doing this now in front of a camera or in front of somebody who happens to be on the other side of the planet, it's all one and the same. You're going to have these conversations anyways. I'm going to answer these same questions if you would have met me at a funnel hacking live conference, right? Of course, it's just being friendly. It's networking. It's getting out there and putting your name out because you never know where the next, whose life you're going to touch by listening to this, right? Someone's going to listen to this and be like, something, I learned something today. And that's a wonderful thing. Even if you touch one person, it's a wonderful thing.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much. This was, again, the golden nugget that you are sharing, that you have already done more than 300 podcasts. That's what you mentioned, right? So
350,
awesome,
yeah.
right? 350, awesome, top notch, right? And I would suggest people that I'll be dropping the link to his podcast. You can also listen to him, and the way that he has been doing it, it's just crazy, right? So people, in today's session, we have just communicated topic that we have discussed, how you can start your podcast, what are the steps that you need to follow, and also what are the ways that you can monetize your podcast, and how Jeff has monetized it in his own way, right? So thank you so much to all the people who have been listening to us, and thank you so much to dear guests, you as well. Thank you so much for sharing the impactful knowledge over here.
You're very welcome. It was a lot of fun. I appreciate you having me on.
Perfect, perfect. Thank you so much.